Hello and welcome back to this mind mastery video. Thank you for joining me today for this maybe reflection, questioning, observations, kind of maybe noticing patterns as well. So I look forward to hearing your perspective, your thoughts. But the general subject is that what I've been noticing lately in psychology, and I think the pattern has been apparent for years now, with the trend basically going upwards, with basically neurodivergence becoming trendy, more and more popular. I don't know if maybe we are at the peak right now, maybe we'll be peaking with this popularity soon. But this is what I've been generally observing through social media, Reddit, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. So the neurodivergence, whether it's autism, whether it's ADHD, whether it's some other form of maybe unique way of perceiving things, experiencing things, and we could probably add schizoid to that too, in some respect. It's no longer portrayed as a kind of unique experience that a person might have. It's no longer portrayed as a unique set of challenges and also opportunities in life. But it's becoming an excuse. It's becoming a kind of mindset of, okay, I'm like this, you can't do anything to me because I'm like this, and I have these challenges. So you don't talk to me about improvement, or that there's something wrong with me, that I should improve something that would make my life easier. It became this kind of label of, okay, this is what I am, and so deal with it. And so it's not only that, but on the social level, it starts feeling a little bit like there's I'll just go all the way. I think there's a social status that is becoming attached to having some kind of neurodivergence. So that's one point I wanted to make. Now, the other point is that, okay, maybe the society, maybe people figure it out that, in order to be unique, and in order to kind of portray or express your individuality or uniqueness, you gotta find this label that will define you. In the past, I've been on YouTube for like 10 years. So 10 years ago, it was trendy to, identify yourself with this different types of Myers-Briggs personality types. So that would make you unique. I'm an INTJ. I'm INFJ. Whatever you want to call yourself, right? That will make you extremely unique. And okay, I'm so much different than everyone else, right? And some people keep going with this, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not bashing on Myers-Briggs. I think it can be extremely helpful in understanding yourself and preferences in terms of how you deal with people, how you deal with life, what talents, what strengths you might be having. But I'm talking more on the collective level of how we've been approaching those things. So back then, it's been Myers-Briggs, different types of personalities. I think that's where, personality disorders started showing up too, like the narcissists or the schizoids or the borderlines. So we've been using all these different labels to define ourselves, and these labels in a way helped people to feel unique, feel different, feel like they're not like everyone else and they're separate from everyone else. Now, because all of it grew in popularity, right? Now everyone has some kind of label, some kind of personality type, some kind of personality disorder, right? So we're not that unique anymore. It doesn't work anymore. We need to look for something more. So then the next step will be the neurodivergence, right? My brain is so different, so unique. My challenges are so different than everyone else's. I'm different. I'm special, maybe, for some people. My challenges are very unique. And so, I'm separate. I'm this separate individual. So then, now this thing on a collective level became a thing that people started using to differentiate themselves from everyone else. So it's not just that it's trendy, maybe, or that it's, there's a social status attached to it. But it also helps people to define their identity, to feel separate. Now, unfortunately, if everyone is neurodivergent, what does it tell you about people? That first of all, we're all different, and second of all, maybe there's something wrong with the diagnosis, with the perception of what neurodivergence is. Because statistically speaking, neurodivergence should be something that is, it's not as common, it's a little bit more unique, a little bit more, it's like a kind of a mutation of your brain, of your genes, whatever you want to call it, right? So mutations don't really occur on the global scale like this. And you can't wish yourself to be one. You can't just decide one day like, okay, this is how I am, this is how my brain is working, and that's it. It's not an identity, it's not a label, it's not a self-definition, it's not like a personality. There's no personality attached to neurodivergence. We attribute personality to neurodivergence because we're looking for that substance and ego. So if everyone is neurodivergent then, right, which it seems like that's the trend that we're going, especially with younger generations like millennials and then, the Gen Zs and then, I don't know, the next one. But that seems to be the trend, that everyone has something. So if everyone has something, then maybe it points to, the idea that I've been talking about for many years now on my channel, that we're too complex to lock ourselves into these personality types, into one single definitions, right? Because we're all unique. So we all have unique challenges and unique strengths and unique, outlooks on life and unique perceptions and unique ways of experiencing life itself. So sure, psychology can try to box people into labels and categories because it's just easier to classify and understand people in categories than every single individual, right? So these categories generally help psychologists or science or whatever, whoever is interested in that, to understand ourselves, right? So to see trends, to see commonalities, differences among different social groups. So it is kind of valuable on more collective level. But on the individual level, I do believe that the trend in psychology goes further and further into the maybe the realization that sure, we can have categories and labels, but at the end of the day, each of us is very different. And so the methodologies in psychology needs to change too. So we need things more practical, like how to deal with emotions, how to deal with, maybe processing informations. Like all of us get overstimulated, for example, at some point. All of us can get overwhelmed with life and challenges. So it doesn't mean that, when someone gets overwhelmed or overstimulated, it doesn't mean they have autism automatically or there's something different with their brain, right? But that's what people start thinking very often when they notice these things about themselves. They might start thinking like, okay, I am autistic or I am schizoid because I kind of sort of meet this criteria on a paper. And this is the last point that I wanted to make also, that when people become more and more isolated, which I think generally is the trend, on the one side we become more and more isolated, but on the other side it's even easier than ever to connect with others because of internet. But let's just roll with this idea that we kind of become more and more isolated, that the society becomes more and more individualistic, and and I think it's especially true with younger generations that were raised just with smartphones, just with internet. So for them, the idea that people can be similar to them, or that people can have maybe similar traits or challenges, maybe it's not that easy to digest or that common to perceive. So if we roll at this with this idea that we become more isolated in general, and it's easier than ever to be isolated. I mean, you don't even have to leave your room to order food or to work or to socialize, right? We don't need to do anything. We can just stay in our room all day. Then in such a situation, it might start appearing like, oh, this is the challenge I'm facing. It must mean that I'm having some kind of mental problem or personality problem. And so we can start thinking that there's something wrong with us, but only because we are not as exposed to other people. And this is the case I've seen many times with my clients in the past too. And there's nothing I could say that would make them believe that it's actually what they might experience. It's actually more common than they think. And it doesn't mean they have, for example, schizoid personality or some other mental health challenge or depression. The only challenge in this situation is their perception. So that's kind of wrapping everything as well what I've been saying before about neurodivergence, that many people, because of their isolation, they might also see that there's something wrong with them, but only because they're not exposed to other people as much. They sit in their room, they sit on the Instagram or internet in general. So yeah, this is just my few cents on this subject. I'm curious how psychology is going to evolve, because I don't think the old methods based on personality disorders specifically, I don't think they will last much longer. And if we do want to generally get better and better at helping people in terms of psychology or helping ourselves, we need to step outside of this, labels and categorizing ourselves and attaching our identity to specific labels or boxes, or putting ourselves in specific boxes. So anyway, these are just my few thoughts. I'm curious what your perception or your perspective is on this subject. So feel free to drop a comment. And yeah, I'll see you next time for the next video. When I will record one again. Thank you. Bye.